This is the best performing ad in one of our client accounts, and the strategy behind it is 100% done by AI. If you brief, write, or produce content, there's probably been a time where nothing worked and you don't know why. Honestly, it's never about the post or the ad. More often than not, it is the 4 decisions upstream before you produce the ad that creates the success. And most teams skip all 4 of those. Run these 4 stages in order with AI doing the heavy lifting, and you never have to guess what to post next. This is the exact pipeline that I use in my agency for every single one of our clients. And the 3rd stage is a secret that almost nobody talks about. Quick context, what you're about to watch is me going through the live training with my team on the entire process, start to finish, of how we produce ads. So I'm going to walk you through it stage by stage and show you how AI carries through the entire stage. We should never start with the execution. We should never start by going into social and then start finding, oh, this one might look good for the client. But we need to bring ourselves back and think from a more strategic point of view. It's very important to have in mind first, who are we creating content for in the first place? So that's why I say avatar is very, very important, right? Because at the end of the day, you have an audience that you're creating for. Every brand must have an audience. And the more consistent your messaging can be to that audience, the more your messaging gets through. Because if you are creating without an audience in mind, that means you're always following trends. You're always following like, oh, what did this so-and-so creator do? Should follow the same kind of format. Yeah, so that goes down to the execution already when you're just talking about format or the how. You're not really answering the why and the who. So we need to really start by thinking who, one specific person. And we need to also think about specifically that brand. That brand meaning your positioning. If you talk about Geta has a very specific person, and Geta has a very specific, unique positioning that they have. I think in terms of Geta, number 1, their uniqueness is their R&D in their materials, right? You got BioCare, you got Miracle Latex. All these are like unique mechanisms that we can tap into. And how does those things enhance the avatar's life, right? So the avatar for Geta is not the very normal mass, right? It's very niche. It's people who have money to afford Geta. If you are doing Gen Z messaging for Geta, do you think that's going to work? It will not. So that already gives us some sort of guideline into which kind of direction do we want to go for our content. So we must always start with these 4 stages in this order. The first thing that we always do is research. Research is done once. Then maybe in 3-6 months, you're running dry. Maybe the market, you see like a trend shift. Maybe like people are not buying expensive mattresses anymore. Then you need to go and research again. But technically, the research should only be done once. Once you have the research done, then you identify what is the avatar. Always start with 3 avatars and try not to rotate the avatars every time. Try to stick to the avatar. Try to go towards that avatar. Once you identify the avatar already, the stage 3 is positioning and mechanism. So what is positioning? Positioning, in simplest terms, it sounds like a very complicated concept, is basically how are you different compared to all of the competitors out there? Right? How do you position yourselves differently? Then finally, only you want to talk about messaging. So messaging is the one that comes last. It is the execution. It is what do you say? So you can't really name the avatar until you have done the research. So you must always, like I said, start with the research. So there are a couple of skills in Claude right now that you can use to do research, okay? So the first one is creative strategy research. So basically you go into your Claude and then you press /creative research. So how you want to prompt is you just run it through. I would like to research black seed oil. In this research, I want you to tell me what are the ongoing conversations about black seed oil, and also what are the proven science behind black seed oil. We need to find a unique position in the US market against all of the other black seed oil competitors, and we need to find our unique mechanism. Also, please help me to find out 3 specific avatars that we can talk to that black seed oil solves the problem for. So again, what is the perfect way to set out a prompt? Do not write one line like I want to, like this. If this is your prompt, what do you think the output's going to be? Highly lacking, correct? Because you're not giving it context, you're not giving it an objective, you're not giving it a framework to operate from. Think of writing a prompt like you're delegating to a junior in your team. If you give a junior this, hey, go and research black seed oil, do you think the junior is going to do a good job? No, right? Because you're not giving them a specific set amount of instructions with an objective of what you want to fulfill. So every time you write a prompt, write it in more detail. This is why I use WhisperFlow and I talk to my computer. Because when talking, it's more natural for me than typing. So once you get the research, okay, most of the time the research will come with like very intense researching competitors. It will tell you, oh, in the mattress industry in Malaysia, you have Somni, you have Joey mattress, you have mattress makers, you have Sono. So it will search all of these competitors. It will also come with conversations. So like, what are people saying on Reddit? What are people saying on Laoyat forums? What are people saying on TikTok? So it will extract all of these conversations that people are already saying, and you will be able to tap into those. It will also go into all the reviews. For example, if let's say Sono has like 5,000 reviews on Google, they will trawl through and they will get you what is the theme that is mentioned in the research. At the end of the day, you're going to get back a HTML long form document. What you want to do is read, digest, understand what it's trying to say. So now let's talk about the avatar. Avatars are not like women 25 to 35, right? Works in, corporate, lives in Damansara Heights. Like, that's not an avatar, yeah? That's just demographic detail. You really want to talk about what is their ambition, what are their goals, what are their pain points, what are they looking for day to day. So if you think of SIS, who is the avatar? Specifically, you have international families who come here, who have moved to Malaysia and are looking for a good school to send their kids to. You also have locals who are sending their kids or looking for an international school to send, right? These are of course wealthy people because you're talking about international school. Right? Then dig into the psyche. What are they looking for when they want to send their kids to SIS? Right? What are the unique qualities? So once you have those avatars, always create to try to fit that narrative. Most of the time, how many avatars is ideal? I would say 3. Like for business, sometimes they have like more than 5 avatars, right? But for ads, try to stick to 3. Why do we want to limit the amount of avatars we target? Because you want to limit your testing, right? Within a 3 to 6 month period, let's say you have 3 avatars. Try to run that for 3 to 6 months. Don't change. Because if you change every single time you do a new cycle or a new round of ads, you are not testing, you are resetting. Which becomes a problem, right? Because you're not getting back what is the point of testing if you keep resetting all the time. Now remember that avatar, because later I'm going to show you how to use an avatar like this in order to create top performing ads. But first, let's talk about positioning. How are you positioning yourselves differently, right? So it means in positioning, when you see companies, your competitors zig, that means you have to zag. Yeah, plainly keep that in your mind. When everyone zigs, we want to zag. Okay, that's positioning. So positioning is anytime you say something that a competitor can say, that means it's not positioning. Like I say, positioning is when everyone is zigging, you want to zag. Okay, you want to be different. So let's say everyone talks about matcha, they always talk about L-theanine, they always talk about, Japanese, always talk about ceremonial grade. You stay away from ceremonial grade, stay away from authentic Japanese, right? So what we're doing with Monday Matcha is we're picking an enemy. We're basically saying that all these people, they're lying. Because everything that you try, it sounds good on paper, but when you buy it at home and you try it, it tastes like shit. So where is the uniqueness in that? So for me, in Monday Matcha, what we're doing is we went down to the source. It is one of the most expensive matcha in the whole of Japan. So when you find like all of these points, right, you find a point that none of them are saying. Okay, I say that we went to Japan, we tried like 20 different brands before we came to the one. And then we say that the one we're sourcing is from Uji. So all of them don't actually claim Uji because Uji is the center of matcha. So now that you have the positioning, then you need a mechanism. Okay, so what is a mechanism? A mechanism is basically a way to name this thing that you are building, but you need to call it a name, right? So a mechanism is simply a name. For example, now Geta, what they do so well is mechanisms. Miracle Latex is a mechanism, okay? BioCool is a mechanism. Nano Silver is a mechanism, All these are all mechanisms that when somebody comes in and they read it, they're like, shit, I get the point, I get the idea. If you don't have a mechanism, you just say, oh, ours is just 50 times cooler than the rest of the market. But you don't name it. It's very hard for your audience to grasp that concept. But when I coin it and I call it BioCool and I own that word, that means nobody else will call it BioCool already. I own the mechanism. That's why mechanisms are so important. You have to name it and you have to own it and you have to coin it, right? I have coined this term called Black Seed Oil Absorption System, okay? BSAS. Why? No other mushroom coffee in the US has black seed oil inside. but I want to make it a unique mechanism. So I called it the black seed oil absorption system. We're saying you are drinking mushroom coffee, but your mushroom coffee, you piss it out at the end of the day. Only 10% of it gets absorbed, for example. That is why we add black seed oil, because we want to help you to absorb all the mushrooms that you drink. So you get 10 times the efficacy. So this is how you create something when everyone is zigging, you zag, right? Completely different, you go the other way. Quick one, I break down a full process like this every single week. So if you create content for a brand, or if you own a brand and you're hoping to create content for it, please subscribe. Okay, back into it. So now you have everything already, then now is the time to focus on execution. Now only you go, okay, now I know what do I create, how do I create, how do I set out the avatars, and how do I create the ads for these avatars or the content for these avatars. So 4 moves, right? The first thing is you want to write one core message, one sentence. It's something like, mushroom coffees are useless if you don't absorb them. That's why we added black seed oil. So just a simple one-liner that claims your positioning, that claims your messaging. Then you use that to start to do all of your top funnel, bottom funnel, middle funnel. So on the website, you do an us versus them, right? You claim that ours is real ground coffee, brewed in your machine, and actually tastes like coffee. Theirs is instant powder. And so that's how you make a comparison. Then you go and you show the other instant mushroom coffee. Why is it like shit, right? And then regular coffee. Yeah, regular coffee is good, but you don't get the benefits of mushroom. Then this is where I introduce the unique mechanism. Where, remember I said just now, the black seed absorption system. So this is the mechanism that I'm using. Mushroom only help if your body absorbs them. Remember, everybody is zigging. I want to zag, right? I want to say, yeah, you add mushroom in your coffee, but if it's not absorbing, what is the freaking point? What is the point of drinking it in the first place? So this is why we add black seed oil, to help encourage and enhance the absorption of the mushrooms in your coffee. So it helps to sell it better. So if I have something like this, imagine if I didn't have the black seed system, I didn't understand that the avatar tried mushroom coffee and it tastes like shit. I just say, oh yeah, it's got mushrooms immunity. How weak will my ads be? How weak will my positioning be? Very weak, right? Because I'm saying the same thing that every freaking buddy is saying. If you want to see what happens after this, in the next video, I'm going to break down the full system of what you should do, what metrics you should look out for, what ads you need to kill, and what ads you need to scale. So please subscribe and be sure to stay tuned to the next one. And remember this, research, avatar, positioning, and message. Go through this process and you will never have to guess what to post again.